And welcome to today's training, guys. Today's training is going to kind of be like no other. I'm going to kind of hold my football because it's what I do when I'm training or I'm going through something. I think this is pretty important. Today's training is going to be how to create your I Am Legend story. And one of the biggest things, especially for me, that I've learned because I just got into this element of taking a look at my marketing, going, what is the most effective thing that we can do with our marketing? For one, I got into the visual side of marketing as it relates to making videos. Okay, good, I got it. As it relates to making videos, things like that, because I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to share with you guys the visual side of what it is that we do. Like, you guys have already come to champion. Some of you guys are going to be coming. Some of you guys are going to be going through the 3-day live experience, the 3-day seminar that we're going to be putting on. Whether you've come in the past and you're watching this because you've got involved in our camp and you wanted more training, or I've invited you on board because I thought this would actually help you. Today's training is a reference to creating your I Am Legend story. Again, in my opinion, an opinion of a lot of fucking really important people, your ability to market is hinged off of your ability to tell your story. The most powerful people in the world, by a study that was done by the Dream Academy, because I have it right here, you have the Dream Society by Rolf Jensen, says that the highest paid person will be the storyteller, and that your ability to tell your personal story is going to be the difference between whether your business stays open or your business closes if you're an entrepreneur. Whether it's going to be the difference between people following you or you are following someone else. Is your ability to tell your story. So I want to go over the 3 things that are going to be important as it relates to what I've learned and the way that I've done it and the way that I will continue to learn and continue to implement. I'll share more with you guys because you guys are like you guys are my first guys, my first tiered group of guys. As we begin to expand this thing, it'll be a more expansive training, but I wanted to give you what I got today, all right? So I'm going to go give you the 3 things that I believe as a personal story based on what I've learned and what I've been taught and how I've been able to execute on these things to build Champion, to build Warhorse, to build my real estate company and my empire. Not even knowing that I was doing it, but it was a part of the training, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys. The 3 things that you, as a speaker, creating your I Am Legend story, what is going to be the most important parts that you need to focus on and what you need to work on today, something that we're going to do as homework, all right? The first thing is your personal story. You know, man, there's 7 billion people on the planet. 7 billion people, and the odd part about that is that you are the only one that's ever walked in your shoes. Your eyes are the only eyes that seen what you saw. You're the only person who had your experience. No one can ever duplicate that. Even if they've had something similar, they're not you. When you die, there'll never be another person like you, and there will never be anybody, there hasn't been anybody before you. So, the story that you walk around with, your life story, your highs and lows, getting from the prom, or not being able to have this, or not feeling worthy, and being bankrupt, and losing your company, or being in love with somebody, and that feeling, that gut feeling, that loss, and then you turn around and you come back. That's your legendary story of who you are as a person. And the study that they did at the Dream Society was saying that all leaders, all great leaders, from Mother Teresa to Lady Gaga to Julius Caesar to everybody in the world, the thing that made them powerful as people as leaders, and people followed them, and they were leaders that were leading people, is their ability to tell their own story. If you don't have the ability to tell your own story, you fail. You won't be in business long. As a matter of fact, the best thing that you can ever do as it relates to telling your story, being a powerful speaker, having an I Am Legend story to create your story so you can lead other people, build a business, and or help people throughout the course of their life, is your ability to submit to the miles that you've already run in your life and to express those to people who need to hear them at the moment, to resonate with people on an emotional, connective level. Because ultimately, the only thing between you and someone else is your story, your actual story about who you are, why you're on the path that you're on, what you've experienced that they may have not, or something similar that they have experienced that connects you emotionally to people to allow them to follow you and where you are and where you are headed today. Your ability to tell that story will be the difference between success and failure in your business and all the other areas of your life. And without your ability to do that, you fail. Because I wrote something down in my notes to make sure that I went over you with these guys, or went over with you for this. So let's say, for example, right now, the world is chasing terrorism. And the reason why they are taking and building so much speed up is because their story is more powerful. Like if you look at ISIS or any other terrorist group or Hitler, they're powerful. The thing that they stood for was so powerful because their leader had an ability to tell his story, to tell his legend story to a group of people, and those people got emotionally triggered and connected to it, and it allowed them to listen to this person preach and teach whatever it is that he believed, and they followed him, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. So it's so important to be a person that wants to do good in the fucking world, to not be a jerk, to build a business that actually inspires people to be great, get more of what they want, or you are going to help them get what they want, and in turn helps you get what you want. So we don't use this specific power of being a leader and also knowing our own story and our own personal power to be able to generate those stories to people, to be used for evil or bad. We got to know that we're on the right team. We got to know that we're doing the right thing. Prime example, my story in Champion, from being bankrupt and losing everything and looking at my life and failing as a man, getting, Sharon and I having our marriage problems, all of those things were my defining moment stories that led me to you today. It made you or helped you understand more about me as a person. I was able to articulate that story clearly and not only just tell you that story, but emotionally drive myself, bring myself back to that place so you can go to that place with me, because if I stand and I just tell a story, but there's no connective tissue to my emotions that drive you and I as human beings to be able to connect with each other, then that story doesn't lead you to shit. It's just a good story. But for my ability to be able to do that, it shared with you my low, my defining moment, the pit of hell that I went through in my business and my marriage, questioning myself, my frustrations of who I was as a man, and then the tipping point was the transformation that I had to go through. The defining moment of me saying, you know what, I'll try to do this shit myself. Like I've tried all the other ways, and I got up from that place and I stormed my own wall. And after spending thousands and thousands of dollars and traveling and learning from different coaches and mentors and going to seminars, compiled all the information that I needed, not for you guys initially, but for myself, to turn my own fucking life around. And when that happened, I started helping other people. That feeling that I had of unworthiness and all my insecurities about whether I was going to win or be alone again, like that is a connected piece, and I feel that shit deeply. So when I share it with you guys, man, I'm sometimes emotional on the edge of tears, and that's true. I'm not doing it for you. I'm just walking down that path, but that emotional on the edge of tear thing connects me to you. It connects us together as men, because I'm not sharing some hokey story. I'm sharing something that would have any man that's either going through that or never wants to have that feeling, heart reach out to him and go, shit, poor guy. I never want that. And he's so powerful, he's so strong to be able to share that story with us, because I would. I like what he said. I look at his courage, look at his strength, which leads me to your ability to share that story that you may have. That I Am Legend story starts off with just your ability to share your story, your personal, deep, gut-wrenching story. But the story can't be a story of demise. It needs to be a story that shares qualities about who you are and how you got to this place, and inspires people to want to have those same qualities and believe that you're the person that can help them achieve those things. All right? So that's the first one. Your personal story, like creating your own I Am Legend story, the three things that you have to focus on in there to be a powerful person, to be able to share a story in your marketing, in your speaking, in dealing with your clients and building a business that matters, or with your wife, with your girlfriend, with your kids, with just people, getting them to be able to move and be led by someone like you. Starts with your ability to identify a defining moment story, something that's got you to the place of where you are and why you're a person to be followed, and to be able to share your personal story like no other, because who else is going to fucking share it? Somebody else? Bullshit, they're not. All right? That's one. Two, physicality. You know, Unfortunately, and I'm doing it right now, which is why I stood up, which is why I got my ball. I wanted to move around. Because in the end, we're human beings. And as human beings, as beings on this planet, we are the most powerful beings on this planet, the most powerful animals in the animal kingdom. And we are predators. And if you look at a lion stalking an animal, it doesn't do weak. It's not like this. It's not like that. It's no wasted motion. Everything is powerful. Every move that it has. If you look at an athlete that fights, like every athlete's like boom, 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 boom. Everything is powerful. Everything is good. There's no confusion in physicality. The way you move, how powerful you are. When you can tell a story, you can act your own story out. You can move and you can not be boxed in, because the world has become boxed in to this thing. Every video, it's a phone, it's this, it's that. Everything that we do is always going to be like this. The moment that, one, you can tell your personal story, two, you can be physical about your story. You can become a person that actually is able to stand in front and own and take leadership in what it is that you do and own your story and actually be able to physically act your story out. If you're a predator, then you aren't afraid, you aren't timid, because what does the rest of the world look like in public? Slumped shoulders, covering their private parts. Like if you're a man, you got balls, you're covering them up, you're doing this, you don't really want to look people in the face, you're looking down, you're looking up, you're like, shit, what am I going to do? That's gone. As it relates to being a leader, telling your I am leader, I am legend story, your power story, your leadership story, you need to be physical. There's a physicality in telling a story. There's a movement in telling the story. Everything you do has to be able to direct traffic between me and you, me and you. But you can't do that if we're just like, hey, what's up? You know, Victor, I'm just sitting in this box, this little small shit space, and I can't move. It's like a prison. Think about it. Everywhere we go, that's what it looks like. You go to the store, people are standing in line, they're like looking at their phones. They're about this big. Their whole life revolves around this. Can you see what it's like when somebody comes in and owns the space and now makes the people who are timid comfortable, because they say, hey, there's a powerful person in the room, there's a predator in the room. Like my coach said, if I were to come on the stage and there was a lion on the stage, and I put this lion on the stage, if I came on the stage and I put a lion on the stage, I took the chains off, the muzzle off of his face, I uncased everything, nobody would fucking move an inch. You would be like, shit. If I move, he's going to jump out, he's going to kill me, because that's what lions do. You need to be a predator by being physical in your conversation, in your walk, in your talk. You need to stand up right. If you're an athlete, you understand. You don't slouch forward. Like I said, when you're a power player, you're back-loaded. Bear, I'm sure you're on the call. You're a power lifter. You do all the deadlifts. When you see a man powerful, he's not always front-loaded. Bodybuilders are like that. But when you're an active person, you're a physical person, you're a predator, you chase down prey, you knock it down, you're looking to kill it. You got to fucking eat. What does prey look like? Everything's making him jump. What does predator look like? He's powerful. He's backloaded. He stands. He's looking. He knows where it is. His hands are open. His paws are big. He's got claws. He's got teeth. He's ready. He can go in and out. He can come close. He can come back. He's not going to trip over his own feet on the stage. He knows where shit is. He marks his territory. This is being a powerful speaker. This is what it takes to tell your I Am Legend story. So first, it starts off with you being able to actually tell your personal story, to be able to express your personal story, to be able to tell your story better than anyone else, because you're the only person who's fucking lived it. Two, physicality. If you can't be physical telling your story, if you can't act your story out, to walk people down the path, to control the room, to control eyes, you lose against someone who can't. You cannot take your eyes off a predator. We are predator. We are definitely predator. We are not prey as leaders. And a caveat to that word predator, unfortunately the world has given the word predator to the weakest fucking people in the people who molest children, people who kill people, people who do this. They've given a word that is powerful to the most powerful beings on the planet. Predators as animals, leaders of the kingdom, to some of the weakest people in our society. They're not predators to me. They're disgraces. So let's not confuse that. So when we say we're predators, we're talking about being powerful. We're talking about the weak people in the world who've been given the title of being predators as someone to be aware of and to stay away from. That's bullshit, right? That's for the weak. We aren't weak. We're leaders. Last but not least, in this specific conversation of building and creating or cultivating, and the three key components of building your I Am Legend story, last but not least, is you're going to have to give everything you got to this. What do I mean by give everything you have? The world expects you to give everything you have and no less. Freaking hair on me. You guys see that? It's crazy. Anyways, the world expects you to give everything you have, and I want you guys to get this. And I'm reminded of a story. So, I had a fight with a fighter back in the day. His name was Cedric Marks. Cedric was one of the best fighters out there at the time. We had a fight for the title. I only trained for about 8 days. I got in the ring. It was 3 5-minute rounds, and we fought the whole fucking time and went to decision. I got my ass handed to me. That was the toughest fight I've ever been in. As a matter of fact, I came out. I took a swing. He ducked underneath it. I kneed him in the face. He grabbed me, and we tussled, swung to the ground. And I don't even remember what happened after that. I remember bridging and then bridging and bridging. Later, when I saw the little footage that we had, they were pushing back on top of me because we were bridging outside of the ring. I was like, and every time they were pushing back over, and finally, man, between the rounds, I just came out. And I think the last one, I couldn't even hold my fucking hands up. And Shannon Rich, a good buddy of mine, actually was a promoter at that time. He still fights. Great guy. Thanks, Shannon, for all the shit that you've ever done for me. If you ever see this, man, I really appreciate you and the world that you've given me to be able to lead from the place that I am now. I get over to the middle, and I didn't know what happened again, but they hold up Cedric's hand. And as they hold up his hand, turn him around backwards this way, turn him back this way, you know, I'm just kind of standing there. And I walk back over to my corner, I sit down, and I start crying. And I got up, and I went outside. I remember sitting out back, and my dad comes outside, and he's trying to talk to me. I'm like, Dad, not right now. And as I sit there, he kind of hands me a drink, and I'm drinking, and I throw up all over the place, and I'm just crying. And that was the most pain I'd ever felt in my life. I wanted to win so bad. I really needed that. I had everybody there. I felt like I had let everybody down. Everybody who had helped me for the little amount of time that they did. All the people in my corner. I let Shannon down because he hoped that I was going to win. We were all friends and training at that time, man. That was the worst pain ever. And I stopped crying, and I got up. Oof. And I went back inside, and as I walked back inside, the people that were still there because we were the main event stood up, and they were clapping. And then more people turned, and they clapped. And it kept going until I had a full standing ovation for the people still there. People were walking out of the doors, and they turned around from where they were, and they were clapping for me. And for the first time, I realized what I was supposed to be doing. It wasn't that I didn't win the fight. I gave fucking everything that I had. The crowd wants everything you have. If you aren't willing to give everything that you have as it relates to exposure, you need to be over the line of expressing your emotions, expressing your attention, expressing the parts of your story that matter to those people. If you aren't willing to do that, you will not lead. Your story has to take people over the line of where they are, to allow them to enter your world, not as it was, but as it is. When you tell your story and you give 100% there, you should be sweating. You should be tired. You should be walking back and forth. You should use your hands. You should be physical. You should be talking to them as it was happening in that moment and get them to almost be in the ring with me. Hopefully like I did with you, so you can understand when I say, at that moment, that story was about giving everything I fucking had. And while I lost the fight, I gained an audience. They fought that fight with me. Their heart went out with me because there was nothing left. So as you become the person you need to become, as you share your story, as you tell your things to the people that you're called to lead, you have to enter that space where if you aren't willing to, one, own your personal story, because out of 7 billion people on the planet, nobody will ever walk in your shoes again. 2, you have to be physical. if you will not be the predator, if you won't define who you are by moving in a way that's your body, that owning this space, owning this small footage that people give you to control for the time that it is that you tell, the moment of your life that created the person that they see in front of you, if you can't move and own that space and make other people feel like there is a lion on the stage, and if they leave that space, they will get killed. But you love them enough to hold their attention and say, look, you know what? You are safe because I'm here. I am physically here to protect you with the story that I bring that inspires you to be who you need to be. That's your physicality. Last but not least, you have to give everything you got. Everything you got. Every emotion, every feeling, you got to go across the line. Damn near every time you share what you need to share. Every time you do what you need to do, you damn near need to be sweating all of your emotions. You need to be way over the line and exposed. And give 100%, because the crowd doesn't give a shit about how close you get to the finish line. The crowd only cares about whether you will give 100% of everything you got. Total exposure. Every fucking time you get the chance. And here's what I have to say as it relates to giving it all. Giving everything you got, to telling your power story, your I Am Legend story, leading with these things. Leading with it. Not following up with it. You have to practice. If you will be a champion in anything in your lifetime, just like I said in this story, while I didn't train a lot for this fight, I practiced every fucking day. I didn't get a title shot for no reason. Every day I put in the miles, I practice, because champions have a different relationship to practice. We believe that practice is the win in the game. The exposure, the fight is for the crowd. The practice is for us. That's how we get better, because you will get your chance at bat. And if you don't practice, if you don't practice what it feels like going across the line every time, going beyond your current capabilities, every time you tell this story, you fail, and you won't get the opportunity to do it. Because I can promise you, you'll get that call. You may go to some wedding and they go, hey, could you give this speech? Or you may go to some business seminar and they go, hey, could you talk for 15 minutes? We're happy you're here. Or you may be at some place where they go, hey, you know what, man, it's really happy to see you. We need somebody to just do a quick introduction and inspire the people. What can you do that? And if you haven't practiced your personal story, your defining moment story, just one, over and over and over and over again, you will get your time at bat and you will fuck it up. You will not leave. No one will follow you. And your business will be done. When you give 100%, when you give all you have, every time you get in the ring, you fight your fight to win or lose. You go all out to the part where there is nothing left. That's all the crowd wants. You win. Either way, people will follow you. Win or lose, they'll go where you go. They'll know you've given 100% of everything that you have. If you can share your defining moment stories with somebody, if you can be physical, you can own the space that you're in. You can make people, when you are in front of them, they feel safe because you have an ability to control your space. You have an ability to own the room, even when they are afraid to own the room. Most people are afraid to do what we do. They're not willing to stand in front of people and give 100% of themselves and expose everything about them that got them to the place. Not in a powerful, I climbed a mountain, but shit, I fell, I'm hurt, I'm exhausted, I was dumped at the prom, I failed, my parents left me, I had this going on in my life, I was bankrupt, I lost everything, I feel less than a man, and I still had to sit in that place and I cried. And eventually I had to get up and I had to say that that was never going to happen to me again, which is why I'm in front of you guys today. This is what I learned. When you do that, you can own a pause. You can stop for a second and take your breath. They'll wait. They're listening. When you can do that, they'll wait for you to drink water when you're parched. They'll pause for a minute because they're trapped in that moment with you, because you are living it and you are allowing them to walk the walk and live that moment with you. Because like I said, out of 7 billion people on the planet, you're the only person who's ever walked that walk. So when you allow people to walk your I Am Legend walk with you, you transform them and they believe in themselves because you believed in yourself. You've allowed them to do that and they will follow you anywhere. That's an art. but it can be taught. So I will share that with you guys. I'll teach that with you guys. But today I wanted to kind of do a brief overview of what's required in that. One, you need to know your personal story. The only person in the world that has your story is you. Two, you need to be physical. You need to physically articulate, not just with your mouth, but with your body. Tell your story. The story I shared about me and Cedric getting into that fight, it didn't just happen where I stood like this or I covered up and I was kind of worried, man, I think this would happen. Like, no. Like, I get in, I shot in, I took down, boom, 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 and he came under and he took, and then I bridged and bridged and bridged forever, and I sat on the edge and I cried. I had nothing left to fucking give. I can physically walk my mind back through what happened at that moment because I did the work to actually go back in my mental Rolodex and physically experience that again. So now it's not just a story. I'm actually living there in my mind as I express it to you and allow you to make that journey with me. Because I can physically own my space, my body, my mind. I can reoccupy it and allow you to enter that space with me while we talk. That's an art. And last but not least, I'm willing to go over the line. I'm willing to give you all I have. I'm willing to leave this place sweaty. Right now, I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm sweating because I'm up. I'm engaged. I'm ready. As a matter of fact, if you're a speaker and you get off the stage and you didn't sweat, there has to be something about you. There's a saying in the power speaker world. Don't trust a man who doesn't sweat when he gets off stage, because you know he didn't give you everything he has, because he didn't put his heart, his soul, his desire, all of the activities that he has inside of what he just said. Some won't do that. We will. We're leaders. I'm legend. There's none other like me. I want to invite you to experience this for yourself. So here's how this works. This is the homework I want you guys to have. I want you guys to practice. I want you to get a pen out. You're going to write down 5 of the coolest things about you. Whether you ran a marathon, skydiving, you're a dad, a husband, a father, an entrepreneur. 5 of the coolest things about you. Whether you're committed, you're determined, you're strong, you love people, just something cool that happens. You live in Hawaii, shit like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be written. Just 5 things. Not long. Bulletize them. A couple of sentences. Now that you've thought about those things, think about the moment that you actually decided to fight for something. The time that you were crushed. The time that you lost. The time that maybe a girlfriend dumped you. You got dumped for prom. Or your parents denied you of something. Or you didn't feel powerful. Like you were told you couldn't be anything in your life. What was the thing that happened to you? It's probably going to be, a defining moment tends to happen when you were young. Usually about the age of between 9 and 12. That's the time when you really started to understand who you were or have some different decisions about that. And there was something about that time that defined your decisions as an adult today. It put you on your path, right? So picture it like Braveheart. Braveheart, as a child, thought he was going to get older and grow up, and he was going to be a farmer. So he farmed with his dad. He loved his dad and all this other stuff. And then his dad died. And his uncle came and was like, you know what, son, you're coming with me. And he left and he learned all of these things about being a warrior. He learned different languages. He saw different things. And he went to Italy, all this other place. He left Scotland. Yeah? Yeah. Then he came back, still wanted to be a farmer. But he saw the girl that he was in love with. He saw the girl that was at his funeral of his dad. And he looked and he was like, wow, I really just want to love her. I want to be a man. I want to be a farmer. This is what I've always wanted. And even though I've had all these experiences, this is the woman that I want to be. I just want to settle down. I don't want any trouble. Then they got married. They fell in love. They hid because it wasn't, within the laws of what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to make sure that she had sex with somebody who was the lord of their small area. That was going to consummate their marriage on the first night with someone else. They didn't want to do that, so they hid what they did. And then as they were at the marketplace, someone noticed that they were loved, they were loving, and they told one of the other people, that one of the other guardsmen that were, you know, one of the king's men that were over and worked with the Lord, said, there's something up. So he grabbed her and he pulled her away, and then naturally, Braveheart at the time, you know, said, William Wallace saw this, and they killed her when he ran. He caused Carruckus. He ran away. He was like, meet me here. She got captured, and they killed her publicly. And as he realized she didn't come, his calling kicked into place. Even though he thought his world was about being a farmer, keeping the peace, the killing of the person that he loved sent him into his true calling, was to free a nation. Love called him to be something else, something that he truly designed, yet he hadn't known that yet. What was that for you? What did you think in your world was happening that was disruptive? Maybe it's a parent, maybe it was a failure in business, maybe it was a failure in a relationship, maybe you failed as a person and you questioned yourself and your insecurities drove you to seek attention. So while you thought you were this one thing, a challenge in your life made you shift and called you to be this warrior, this champion, to fight for what you believed in, but you didn't see it before that. What was that defining moment for you? I want you to write it down. I had three. One was in my business. One was as a young child. An aunt telling me I wasn't going to amount to anything. Later, as I got to be an adult, you know, and like I said, you want to make some of your defining moments relevant to your audience. So I speak to business people. I talk, you know, I speak to men. I talk about going bankrupt and losing things and wondering how I'm going to feed my family. And that loss exposed the problem in my marriage. And then I talk about my defining moment as a man and wanting to do right in my marriage and failed in the marriage in the past, wanting to do right in my marriage now, and the challenge that I had in that. And my defining moment was belittling myself or feeling as though I belittled myself, hoping that my wife would love me, and then realizing that that wasn't happening anyways, doing things my way while it wasn't right, set us on the path that we're on today to being best friends and to having the marriage that I could never even imagine. But that moment of failure and insecurities that I had called me to be the man that I am today. It set those wheels in motion. And last but not least, the story that I also picked up was talking to my dad and him telling me at the time where I had just got out of jail and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, raising Aaron and things like that. And he was like, you ain't no man. And I was like, so why don't you show me? Because all of the things that I've seen from most of the men that I know in my family, out of the family, in church, they don't have the life that I want. So who's going to fucking show me? It was my defining moment as I got upstairs and I sat on the couch and Aaron came and leaned on my leg and I put my arms around him and I was thinking, man, I love this kid so much. I have to do something, but it can't be the thing that I've seen because they failed. I refuse to fail as a man. That was a defining moment for me that sent me on the journey to become the person that I am today for the rest of my kids and my marriage and all those things. Those are defining moments that I share and I physicalize, I vocalize those things, I walk the line with those things. I go above and beyond the call of duty as it relates to sharing that story where I am also sometimes crying in front of a group full of fucking people because I'm so emotionally triggered by those things and they get emotionally triggered by that to the part where when we finally talk, we are connected. They're willing to listen. They're willing to follow. Because not only am I some separate person, but I am one of them. And they are now one of, you know, they're like me. Without that, gentlemen, without your power story, your defining moments, like we said in this homework, come up with 5 things that are cool about you, then scratch those fucking cool ideas. That's not the story you're going to tell. The story you're going to tell is the defining moment of how you became this cool-ass person. You don't start with, I climbed a mountain, and that's why I'm here in front of you today. Or I made $1 million, that's why I'm here in front of you today. You go, shit, I was fucking bankrupt. I lost everything. And I had to turn my fucking life around because I didn't know what to do. It was in those moments that I found myself. That I questioned who I was, and I had to rebuild that person. Without that moment, I wouldn't know fucking any of you guys. Thank God for those days. Thank God for those days. I want you to be a man who can express himself, a man who can lead, a man who can lead with his story of being a legend to people who are seeking one. If you do that, you'll never be out of business, you'll never be out of work, you'll never be waiting for the phone to ring. People will find you. You just have to define what that story is. And we will be working on cultivating your story, vocalizing your story, physicalizing your story, and finding ways to get your story to actually go over the edge to where you are giving everything you got every time you get the chance. Practice in front of people, alone, in the shower, whatever it is that you do to get yourself in the right space. I'll show you how to do that too as it relates to warming up to being a speaker. And I have a specific way that I do it that I learned, and then I've actually extended the way that I learned it, doing it the right way with them, to be able to identify with the person that I am. Like my own personal shit that I get in flow. Like when we say get in flow as an athlete, you're in flow. You don't have to think. Like then you're receptive. Like all of your mind is open. I'll share with you what I do, and you can cultivate something similar to that, and then you can go over your defining story all the time and find yourself in flow towards it becomes a cellular conversation towards every time you share it, your emotions rise, so that way you can get the emotions risen of the listener as well. Who cares if you get emotional, if other people just hear you, see you get emotional, they can't get emotional with you. You have to learn to do that. That's where the practice comes in. Every champion is built off practice, not performance. You will perform the way you practice. And if you practice 10,000 hours of this story that you've lived, when it's time for you to perform it, it'll be flawless. Everyone will hang on to every fucking word. Other than that, people will just be waiting for you to shut the fuck up so they can go to the bathroom. We want people to be flawless and hang on every word. We want to be the lion on the stage, or if we turn and we're looking at them, they're like, shit, he's watching me. Don't move. Because if I move, there's danger. He's a predator. Got it? That's what we want. So, again, the three things about your power story. One, telling your personal story. If you can't share your personal story, you lose. It's the only thing you got. The most valuable thing you have. It's not your money, it's not your house, it's not your car, it's not your family, it's nothing. It's your personal story. Your ability to share your personal story with the world is the one thing that you have that nobody else has. You can do that. You succeed, period. People will follow you. Next, it's your ability to be physical, to physicalize it, like your physicality. You cannot be a person who's weak. When you talk, when you tell your story, when you talk, when you speak, when you train, when you teach, everything has to be physical. You have to involve people in what you do and get them involved in working with you as a person, as a man. If you fail there, you lose. Everybody loses when you can't do that. Nobody wants a weak ass. No one wants a speaker. They want a performer. They want somebody who can ignite people into action. You can't do that if you're just standing still, hiding your masculinity or femininity if you're a woman. Hiding your masculinity by covering your balls. That's what weak prey do. Cover their balls. They're submissive. They do that. They hide all their weak parts. We're powerful. We're able to stand in our power and be like, fuck it, this is me. Own it. This is my stage, my room, my seats out there. I own all of this is my territory. You're in it and you are safe because I'm you. Being physical. Your physicality. Next, give 100%. Go over the line and sharing what you need to share. I want you to get everything you got to everything that you share as a defining moment. I don't want you to worry about whether you cry, get emotional. All that stuff is not weakness. It's power. Your ability to express yourself also helps you. When you do all that stuff, you walk people down the path, you allow them to share the way that you're sharing. If you bottle it up, then they will bottle up. If you open it, they will open. But they can't do that unless you go first. And they can't do that unless you're willing to go over the line and give everything you fucking got. The crowd demands no less than everything from you. And if you give them less, you fail. You will lose them to someone like me or someone else who's got their time at bat and put in all that practice, who comes in and who can control the crowd. And they can get them to move. They can get them to stand. They can get them to sit down. They can get them to share. the most intimate details publicly because you're willing to do it. You're willing to go over the line. You're willing to give everything. That's your job. 5, coolest things about you. Then I want you to scratch those coolest things, but I want you to practice. You need to know what they are. And then you will write a defining moment story about yourself. What got you? What was the thing that made you go, you know what? No more. And it's caused you to be on the path that you're on today. 9 times out of 10, it probably started when you were between the ages of 9 and 12, usually by something that you tried for and failed at, and it made you say no more, or something you actually achieved and you loved it so much you kept doing it and it just got you where you were today. But it still needs to be a moment that called you to be something, to wake you up from the life that you thought, even as an innocent child, to the reality of the real world, and it called you into action, called you into being a champion, a fighter, a warrior for the cause that you're on today. And when you do that, you can begin to see the line of how you've gotten to this place, and even sometimes the failures and how they continue to show up and what you can do about them to start fixing them with the right people. But you can't do that unless you start to hold on to that personal story tightly. All right? So, as we close today, I want to share with you this one last thing. Your I Am Legend story is the thing that you will share for the rest of your life with people. Once you have this, there's no place you can't go. If it's a toast and you go, hey, when I was 12 years old, or for me, when I was 11 years old, I was sitting down with my sister, rocking her, and I can hear my aunts behind me telling each other while they smoked cigarettes in the corner, saying that I would never amount to anything. And in that moment, I looked back and I was like, you know, I'll prove them wrong. I'll never be that. In that moment, I just wanted to rock my sister and tell her that everything was going to be okay. And what ensued after that for the rest of my life was me proving over and over again that I'm worthy, that I can do this. And it's led me to you guys today, and I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for coming out. That's a toast. That's a toast that people go, shit, I've been through that. I know it. Thank you. You know? Or 2007, I filed for bankruptcy and I fucking lost everything. What was exposed was the problems in my marriage with me and Sharon. The willingness for me to go above and beyond the call of duty business. I wanted that so much, but that's led me to you guys today. I thank God for those moments, because without that, champion wouldn't have been born, warhorse wouldn't have been born. I would have never have met the greatness that I see in you guys. I'm humbled. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's still my defining moment stories. You get it. You have to be able to know what those moments are, so when you get your turn at bat, you can lean on them. My story about me and Cedric is a story about going above and beyond the call of duty, and how the crowd wants everything from you. Those are defining moments. Story. I fucking lost that night. I bust my ass. But the turning point, the transformation, when I realized my emotional connection came from the crowd, me expressing everything that I had. That was a win to them. That's a defining moment story. I fucking debated whether I was ever going to fight again, man. That sucked. You know? That shit ruined everything for me afterwards. I was in the hospital. Like, it was that bad. I shared that story long later. But for this moment, it's a connected piece. Rather than just me say, yeah, give everything you got, I can say, look, I fought. I lost. That was a 15-minute fucking dogfight. I threw up. I sat outside. I cried. I had to tell my dad. I felt like I let the whole world down. But when I came back in, after giving everything I fucking had, a standing ovation was there waiting for me. Because the crowd didn't give a shit whether I won. They gave a shit because I gave it all. That inspired them. And I want to inspire you to do the same. You get why your stories are so important. While it allows you to be exposed, but it also allows people to follow you so they understand themselves through you. And they understand you better than they ever would have had you just told them, yeah, I won't quit. I'll give everything I got. I left home at a young age. I filed for bankruptcy, and now I'm back on top. No one gives a shit. Everybody will only connect with your ability to tell your personal story. That's how you lead. And when you can do that for good, you can do that not out of evil. When you can do that through power of wanting people to be better and yourself to be better, you can win. All right? So, again, do your homework. 5 coolest things about you, whatever those are, and then scratch those. Just put them off to the side. Don't throw them away. But those are the things that are cool about you. But that's not the stories you're going to lead with. No one gives a fuck how cool you are. They care about the time that you were overexposed, went over the top, your defining moments. What caused you to overcome? What caused you to fight back? What caused you to say no more? What was the time that your nose was up against the biggest giant in the world and you fought back, win or lose? What was that moment? That's what we care about. No one gives a shit about anything else. We can look at something else. But if we're going to watch you, you need to be the legend that we're waiting for so we can be inspired to be a legend for ourselves. All right. So